Hi, I'm Syeda Jafri and welcome to RUSD Bridge. On this episode, we have two dynamic leaders from the world of math, science, college, career ready, and STEM from the Rialto Unified School District. And may I add, they are state recognized leaders. Thank you, educators, for being here. Dr. Edward D'Souza and, of course, Juanita Chan. I want to first start off with you, Dr. D'Souza, because you have a very decorated career in the Rialto Unified School District. Can you tell us where you started from?
So I've been in education for 35 years, 31 in Rialto Unified School District. I started out in Rialto Unified School District in 1984-85 at Cobb Middle School, and I was hired by Joe Cook, and I still remember the day I was hired in my last office, which was a conference room at that time in personnel. And the two principals fought over me, and Cobb won. The principal arranged a ride for me to come to school and come home. I didn't even have a car that time.
Oh, wow.
So I started at Cobb and then moved to Eisenhower. The most rewarding part of my career was I moved with those kids all 4 years at high school.
Oh, how wonderful.
So I actually got to
As
see
a
them
math teacher?
As a math and science physics teacher. So I
Okay.
saw them graduate.
Oh.
So that was one of my high points. And then from Eisenhower, I became summer school principal at Frisbee, became dean of students at Eisenhower, was the AP at Coursera, and then went to the county office in charge of math and science for 5 years.
San Bernardino County?
Both counties, Riverside and San Bernardino. I was in charge of math and then science for Riverside, and then ended back in Rialto as the director of curriculum, and have been 2000 and have been back since then.
Wonderful. And I know that you wear many hats in science and math, and also we're going to talk a little bit about green schools because that comes in with environmental science. I want to welcome you, Juanita Chan. So Juanita, talk to me a little bit about your past, your history, and also what do you do now for the Rialto Unified School District?
Sure. So I started off as a 4th grade teacher at Morgan Elementary School.
Yay, Mustangs.
Yeah, go Mustangs. And I loved it, every minute of it. And then I moved on to, I was a math coach for Preston, Trapp, and Fitzgerald. And then I was a 7th and 8th grade science teacher, so a life science and a physical science teacher at Cobb Middle School. And then from there, I was the science lead for a California Math and Science project grant that we had for 3 years. And when that grant sunsetted, then I became the science lead, and now I'm the STEM and College and Career Pathways coordinator.
Now, I want to first start talking about green schools first. Rialto Unified School District, under the leadership of our science department, has received the California Green Schools Award Gold level. And can you tell me exactly what that means? Because there's so many titles and awards and accolades. And with respect to that, kind of break it down to us.
So Syeda, I also want to say we're not only a California Green Schools winner, we are a national Green Schools winner.
That's right.
So we won both state and national. We won state for 3 years. And to break it down, it's basically adhering to the Green School principles. And that's basically not just the education part, which is a major part, but all departments working together. So we had our maintenance department to make sure we have all things up in line, like the solar panels, or all the stuff used for the lights, etc. Brian Montez, our award-winning
ground supervisor, right,
who made sure that every elementary school had gardens in place, and you call them actually outdoor laboratories that kids can actually do science, and this would be wonderful at this time. And then we also had in place, we were one of the first schools to put an environmental science curriculum and get it UC approved for all our high schools.
So first district to do that.
First district to do
Excellent.
that. And then we also worked with nutrition services. They played a major role. They grew vegetables in our gardens, and then our kids actually worked with them, so they got that to eat in their classrooms. So there were a lot of things. And then we designed labs too in science to make it exciting, because we want students to be excited about science and know about science in their community. And so a lot of things were created so that kids were aware of Rialto and what Rialto had to offer, rather than some foreign thing in some textbook that they read. And I'll let Juanita talk more about the curriculum, because she worked with that.
Okay.
So I think the biggest piece, so there are 3 major pillars for the Green Schools application, but if you wanted to sum up each of those pillars, it has to do with the education of and the practice of being more sustainable in your community. And so we're really focusing a lot of energy on incorporating real life events, real life ideas into the classroom, bringing the outdoors inside, and actually physically taking the students outdoors and getting them more civically engaged in the community. So
It's very hands-on then.
Definitely. So you can better access the information that goes on, the data that goes along with environmental issues in the community to make better choices for themselves and for their families as well. So we looked at that novelly in that we really thought of it as a K-12 initiative. It wasn't just something that was reserved for an after-school program or an informal partner coming in and just partnering with us, but we really focused on partnerships that allowed every single student, every single grade level to have really strong hands-on activities that they can make meaning of, that they could then build off of the understanding of those things they could build off of as they matriculate up through elementary school, middle school, and high school as well.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you as a coordinator for STEM and college pathways, career and college pathways. So you're working with students from first grade all the way up to seniors.
Yeah, TK all the way up to
on.
seniors, and we're trying to even move into the adult ed curriculum.
Because we
Yeah.
put a
Excellent.
culinary class there. But I also want to talk about two major things that happened. One is that we had a California Math Science Partnership Grant, which had a core team of teachers who actually came and got excited about it.
In the Rialto Unified
In the
School
Rialto
District?
Unified.
Great.
We were one of the few districts to get it. And then the second thing, we got a new superintendent. Dr. Vela came on board, and he basically, I don't know if you remember, he made community and giving back to the community one of his major leadership things. The first
Leading through service.
Leading
right.
through service.
And that was about 5 years ago. So, yes.
So that's why we carry that motto, and how can we carry it in the classroom?
Oh, wonderful.
We really look at this idea of STEM cares. So when you know something about a particular topic, then the next piece is to do something about that topic and to try and make your community much better than it already was. And so when we think about all of those initiatives, the service through leadership initiatives, it's all about caring for yourself, caring for the environment, caring for your community.
That's wonderful. Now, here's a little bummer. We're in a pandemic. A lot of things are now virtual. And so you can't have that hands-on. Like you were talking about the beautiful 19 elementary schools, all of them have gardens, and our students are growing fruits and vegetables, and that's such a big part of science and, you know, working in the labs and the techs. But I do remember when California Department of Education awarded the Green Schools last year, and it was, I believe, 2019 in January. In March. The state superintendent, who was newly elected in January, it was just 3 months in, and State Superintendent Tony Thurman attended Morris Elementary School. He went to go visit Rialto High School, Myler High School, and the entire CDE team was just so impressed. What were some of the things that they saw?
So some of the things was the curriculum. It was not just gardens, right?
Right.
It was integrated with it. And then Morris also had a bilingual program.
The dual language
immersion, which also was wonderful for Tony Thurman to see that, because that's one of his passions. And then the other thing that happened is the whole garden and the culinary thing, which Fawcett's group does. They grow these vegetables and the kids actually eat them at lunchtime. And then the beautiful, I can't remember, the outdoors classroom that they have.
Outdoor classroom, right.
And so that was like a big thing that the school, actually that was their brainchild, and they put together. And even that teacher there, and I'm Tom Vasta, he actually works with the students every day. He has about 80 or 90 students in his club.
He was on the show, and he was talking about the outdoor classrooms as
Right.
well, so you're right. And so it is a collaborative effort when we're talking about such a major state-recognized school district nationally. It's not, and I don't want to say just educational services, it's educational services, it's M&O, it's transportation, it's nutrition services, it's grounds. How do you all collaborate
But can
together?
I just add one more thing? There's 80 or 90 students who want to come to school, and it's school. This thing is motivating them to come to school, and they're learning by actually touching. They're doing measurements. Math is involved, science is involved, writing is involved, and they are active learners. Okay?
One of the things that I heard from the CDE officials over and over again was that how impressed they were about the internal collaboration. So a lot of times it's, you see it's very popular for there to be collaboration between informal and non-formal partners in school districts and or one or two teachers. What we do different in Rialto is that we have this strong interdepartmental collaboration where people from nutrition services and people from maintenance and operations are able to lend their expertise, because essentially those people are scientists that are on the ground with the students every single day, and people are underutilizing their expertise typically. So we found a way to really emphasize their expertise, show the students that there are people all around them that are scientists, everyday scientists, and that's the piece that I think the CDE was really impressed with, that we heard over and over. They're really looking at Rialto to be a scalable model for what could happen in districts all over California. And of course, if it's happening in districts all over California, then it could happen all over the nation. And that's really the kind of scope and scale that they're really looking for, is, which I think is why we won the national award, is this recognition that we have made a difference in our community. Our students have made a difference in our community.
Our teachers.
Have made a difference in this community. And we've done that through partnership that's a model, that's scalable, that everyone could do to make a real difference environmentally for the whole world.
And I'll be remiss to say the city of Rialto also worked with us for us to be able to go out to all these different partnerships that we had.
Right. Now, you guys do a lot. When I say you guys, I'm being very informal. Our math and science department, you do a lot with the RISE program. You do a lot with Earth Day and the field trips. So talk a little bit about that.
So we have an initiative called STEM Cares, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math, cultivates active, responsible, environmental stewards. It wouldn't be education if we didn't have really long acronyms.
Right.
So, but it goes into that idea that if you know something, do something, make your community better. And through that kind of motto of care and loving and happiness and really emphasizing like physical and mental well-being, that we've built partnerships with the city, with different nonprofit organizations, and that allows us to offer our students more outside of the classroom opportunities that really bring that learning to life for them. So some examples of that would be the Run Around the Rocks, which is an annual 5K that we do. Mm-hmm. The proceeds are donated to the
Cemex company.
Yeah, right. Cemex at the surface quarry, so the students get a chance to see what would Rialto look like if there were no houses here. What is the native environment of Rialto? We also do Earth to Table, which emphasizes the partnership between industry and local government and K-12 schools, focusing really on what does it mean to be, a citizen in the community that is really that's really involved and engaged. We also do two events, student events. One of them is RISE, which stands for Rialto Inspiring STEM Education, for all of our fifth graders, where the fifth graders get to come and they get to explore all of the different science opportunities that they will be afforded in secondary school. And then we also do a second one, which is called Career Cruising. And in Career Cruising, they get to think about, and that's for our eighth graders, they get to think about as they matriculate up to high school, what opportunities are available at all of our Rialto high schools, and then what kind of jobs are available locally in the community. So.
And I want to talk a little bit about that, because we are talking about green schools being a nationally recognized green school, and I know both of you had a tremendous impact and influence on that as well. But let's talk about the seniors. Let's talk about the college, the career pathways, some of your responsibilities in reference to that. Where have some of your students gone with being science majors or math majors?
Yeah, we've really seen an increase in the number of students that have declared environmental studies majors as a major at both UC Riverside and Cal State San Bernardino. We've also seen, we also have included new pathways that allow students to explore the environmental industry in our particular area. So we've converted our regular construction class into a green construction class, thinking about things like...
Slow down real quickly, Juanita. So what is green construction for those parents who are interested, or the students that are interested?
Sure, yeah. So green construction right now is offered at Carter High School, and it is a conversion of a couple of ideas. There is new legislation that goes into residential and commercial construction, and a lot of that new legislation goes along with environmentally sustainable initiatives. And so in order to flex what we are offering to be more aligned with that market demand, green construction, in addition to all of the regular construction components that you would expect to see in a construction class, also includes an introduction to solar panels, installation of solar panels, thinking about more sustainable insulation materials and things like that. We also currently we're offering a series of courses that are aligned towards careers in the water industry at Rialto High School and at Eisenhower High School. And additionally, we are, again, flexing to the demands of the local industry. So if you look at our labor market demands, our labor markets identifies certain high needs and high wage jobs that can be found in San Bernardino County. And those jobs, we're working on all of our CTE pathways to talk about how those jobs, to prepare students for those jobs, as well as talk about units within each of those pathways that introduce ideas that are related to sustainability.
Excellent.
So
Dr. D'Souza?
two other ideas that we have put in place is cybersecurity. We have put a cybersecurity pathway at Eisenhower High School, which is something that is going to be important because Cal State San Bernardino puts out the most cybersecurity, it's well known for cybersecurity in the area. And the second thing that we put in, we won a grant from the State Department. It's called the SSP grant, and that's basically having an innovation class with the business and entrepreneurship, and that's like wild cake. It's like burning the students there. They really love it, and they've signed up. And from one section, we've gone up to 5 sections in a year.
No, I was going to ask you, Dr. D'Souza, CTE, what does it stand for, and what are the classes that are offered under CTE?
So it's called Career Technical Education. It's a 2 sequence courses. It's a concentration and a capstone.
High school, middle school?
It's at high school, and every school has defined what its pathways are, so students have a choice where they want to go for a certain pathway. The middle schools are trying to put something in place with the electives, and we actually have put electives in terms of computer science at each of the middle schools, and then forensics also was introduced this year, year.
Yeah, we're really focusing, it's environmental forensics, which is slightly different than the regular forensics that go along with law enforcement.
What's the difference between the two?
So environmental forensics explores environmental hazards, and then just like regular forensics, where there's, in regular forensics, there might be an incident that occurs, and then you kind of you move backwards.
Investigate it from the right, from the back, from the front.
Right, exactly. So environmental forensics is essentially that same thing. A phenomena is introduced at the very beginning. Maybe that phenomena has to do with pollution, or that phenomena has to do with waste of some sort. And then the students, and they're all, at this point, they're all made up. They're
right. No, I understand.
So,
that.
And then they move
I hope
backwards.
They're made up.
They're definitely made up, yeah. So, but they move backwards to try and figure out that cause and effect relationship. So this caused this, and this caused this. It really focuses students on those science skills of logical thinking and being able to utilize data in order to inform decision making. I wanted to just jump on something that Dr. D'Souza also mentioned, but even in classes where you wouldn't think that there's an environmental link, going back to green schools,
right,
is that we have tried to incorporate pieces that still have that environmental focus. So for example, in that entrepreneurship class, we're talking about global supply chain. And as you're thinking about global supply chain, The Economist really emphasizes that almost all large-scale companies are considering the sustainability of the products that they're sourcing from all over the globe. So it goes back into that global citizenry kind of idea. So we really want all the students, regardless of whether you see something as like obviously environmental, to have an idea that if you are consuming goods, then those goods came from somewhere, and how can you be more aware and more responsible as you're consuming those products.
Now, one thing that you guys both do at the end of each school year, which I love, is there's a Science Bowl. Explain to me, when was Science Bowl introduced? And I believe it was under your leadership. And then tell me what I mean, it's a feel good for the kids at the end of the school year. What is it about?
So actually, we had put on hands-on labs, and it was Curtis Winton who was like, can't we take this hands-on lab to students so they have a performance type of in an arena where parents are watching them.
And Mr. Curtis Winton was a parent leader with the Parent Institute is named after for the Rialto Unified School District.
Right, and so our labs were used for that, and then since that we have created every year a physical science experiment, a life science, and the kids actually do it right in the middle of the gym and with people cheering them on, and these kids come dressed like little scientists, and the teachers really love it. We get more volunteers and people who have retired who want to come back and volunteer for that because they really, and the kids really enjoy it.
So when you think of the STEM Bowl, think of the Super Bowl. That was the kind of what we were trying to mimic with some of those ideas for the STEM Bowl.
And is it again K-12?
It's middle school.
Middle school.
Right.
And elementary school as well.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you do one for high schools.
High school, we have the science fair.
Bowl or science fair.
Where we have a K-12 science fair, and the students who win the science fair are able to go down to county, and then some are able to go on to state, and every year we've done that.
At the high school level, so there's a couple of pieces. All of these pieces, the motivation for these pieces are to keep kids engaged in STEM from a very young age all the way through to finding STEM careers. STEM careers are highly employable, they're high wage, they're in high demand, and what you find is that a lot of those jobs sometimes tend to be outsourced. So we're trying to grow our own talent, essentially. So what does that look like at elementary school? At elementary school and at middle school, a lot of times it looks like competition. So how do we mimic the excitement that you get from sports in science and in engineering, which sometimes can have some pre-existing kind of ideas. People have pre-existing ideas about what those students might look like or behave like or whatever. Mm-hmm. We're trying to dispel those rumors and say, science is cool. Kids that are into science are cool, and as they matriculate up, we want them to have more opportunities with competitions like the International Science and Engineering Fair. We've had students compete in that against students from all over the globe, and in those competitions, there's big money that a student can receive. Right. I think the top prize for the International Science and Engineering Fair a couple of years ago was like $30,000. And then move on to high school and then develop a professional network while students are going through K-12 so that when they get to a point where they can get a job, they actually know people who are working in that field. So we all kind of know as adults, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And so we feel like it's a part of our job to ensure that our students are developing a professional network that they can call to once they graduate to get those high-paying jobs.
Thank you so much. That's well said. And science is not only real, but in Rialto Unified School District, it is successful and it is award-winning. So I want to thank you, Juanita Chan, Ms. Chan, for being here, as well as Dr. Ed D'Souza. Not only are you guys awesome, decorated educators in the Rialto Unified School District, but also nationally recognized, a part of a team that's nationally recognized. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Of course, and thank you for being here on RUSD Bridge. Until next time, we'll see you soon.